You run the brush through your hair, and before you've even left the bathroom, it falls flat against your scalp like it gave up on you. You add more product, you tease it, you spray it stiff, and within the hour, it collapses again. You've been told this is just what happens to fine hair after 60. I'm here to tell you that almost everything you were taught about styling it is wrong. Here's the part that stopped me cold when I found it. The flatness isn't your hair failing. It's the styling method failing your hair. The very steps you were told would add volume are the exact steps crushing it. I spent years doing all of it, faithfully, and wondering why I looked more tired every single morning. By the end of this, I'll hand you the one trick hairdressers used in the 1960s that got quietly buried when blow dryers took over. It costs nothing. It works with the hair you have on your head right now, tonight. No scissors and no shopping. Stay with me, because the last secret is the one that changed everything for me. I remember standing in front of a lit mirror in a little salon back in the fall of 2017, watching a stylist half my age tell me my hair was just thinning and that I should keep it short and low maintenance. I believed her. I walked out with a cut that made my head look smaller and my face look older, and I paid $45 for the privilege. That was the day the questions started. So, let me start with the biggest lie of all, the one you've probably heard from your mother, your hairdresser, and every magazine you've ever flipped through. The rule goes like this. Once you hit a certain age, you must cut your hair short. Short hair is easier, short hair is age-appropriate, long hair drags your face down and looks like you're holding on to your youth. You've heard it. Maybe you've said it. I certainly repeated it to my own sister once, and I regret it. Here's what I found when I actually went digging. That rule is not about volume, and it was never about flattery. It's a leftover from a very specific time. Go back to the 1950s and 1960s. The standard look for an older woman was the tight set perm. You went to the salon once a week, sat under a dome dryer, and had your hair curled tight and lacquered into a helmet that was supposed to last 7 days. Short hair made that weekly ritual cheaper and faster. It wasn't chosen because it looked good on mature women. It was chosen because it fit the salon's schedule and the salon's price list. And here's the trick the industry never advertised. That tight, cropped, permed style is one of the worst things you can do to fine hair because tight curls packed close to the scalp actually expose more scalp. Fine hair wrapped tight reveals the gaps. It doesn't hide them. So a whole generation of women were sent home with the one style guaranteed to make thinning look worse and told it was the sensible choice for their age. Now think about what really creates the look of fullness. Volume is not tightness. Volume is lift and movement and the way light catches hair that has room to breathe. When your hair is plastered flat or curled into a rigid cap, light hits it as one solid, dull surface and your scalp shows straight through. When your hair has a little height at the root and a soft, unstructured shape, light scatters across it and your eye reads that as thickness. That's not opinion. That's how the eye perceives density, through shadow and highlight, not through the actual number of strands. So the truth is this: you don't necessarily need shorter hair. You need hair with lift at the root and softness through the body. A blunt, slightly longer shape often reads as fuller than a cropped one because the ends carry weight that creates a clean line and the eye follows that line instead of hunting for your scalp. I kept my hair too short for a decade because a rule from 1955 told me to. 10 years of looking thinner than I actually was. But cutting is only the surface of this, because even with the perfect cut, most women are killing their volume with something they do every single morning without a second thought. And once I understood who taught us to do it, I got genuinely angry. Let me tell you what I mean. You were taught to wash your hair often and to load it up with conditioner from root to tip every time. Clean hair, we were told, is healthy hair, and a good conditioner coats every strand for softness and shine. Sounds harmless. Sounds like basic hygiene. It's actually one of the main reasons your fine hair lies down and dies. Here's the science, and it's not complicated once someone finally explains it to you. Fine hair has a smaller diameter than coarse hair. Each strand is lighter and thinner, which means it takes almost nothing to weigh it down. A rich conditioner or a smoothing serum or a leave-in cream applied at the roots coats those delicate strands in a film. That film adds weight the hair simply cannot support, so the strand bends at the root and lies flat against your head. You've essentially poured a thin layer of grease over a feather and asked it to stand up. And now, the part that made me set my jaw. The beauty industry sells volume products and weighing down products in the same aisle to the same women at the same time. They'll sell you a $15 volumizing mousse and a $22 smoothing conditioner and never once mention that the second one cancels the first. The average woman over 60 I've spoken with owns 4 or 5 styling products and uses all of them, layering weight on weight, wondering why nothing holds. It isn't your fault. You were sold a problem and its supposed solution by the very same people. So here's what to do instead. And it costs you nothing but a change of habit. Conditioner goes only on the bottom half of your hair, from the ears down, never on the scalp or the crown. Your roots are the youngest, freshest part of your hair and they do not need conditioning. The ends are the oldest and driest, so that's where the moisture belongs. This one change, keeping product off your roots, gives most women noticeable lift within a single wash. Second, stop overwashing, but not for the reason you think. I'm not telling you clean hair is bad. I'm telling you that fine hair looks fullest on what stylists call the second day. Freshly washed fine hair is slippery and soft and has no grip, so it slides flat. A day of natural texture gives the strands something to hold on to, which means more body and more lift. Wash less and let your hair work with you. And third, the products themselves. Look at your bottles. If you see the word silicone or any ingredient ending in cone near the top of the list on something you put near your roots, that's your flattener. Silicones create shine by coating the strand, and on fine hair, that coating is dead weight. I threw out 3 bottles the week I learned this. My hair had more life in it by that Friday than it had shown in years. But changing your products is still just clearing the obstacles. It gets rid of what's holding you down. It doesn't yet create the lift. And lift, real lift, comes from a technique that got lost the day the handheld blow dryer became a household object. Therefore, we have to talk about heat, because you are almost certainly using it against yourself. Here's the rule everybody follows. Wash your hair, grab the dryer, point it down the hair shaft to smooth it, and dry it in the same direction it naturally falls. Down, 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 until it's dry and neat. That's how your mother did it. That's how the magazines showed it. And it is exactly backwards for volume. Think about it for 1 second. If you spend 10 minutes blasting hot air downward, pressing every strand flat against your scalp in the direction of gravity, you are training your hair to lie down. You're setting it flat while it's wet and moldable, and then it cools and locks into that flatness. You did that on purpose. Every morning, because someone showed you the smoothing motion and never showed you the lifting one. The correction is almost embarrassingly simple, and it's the free technique I promised you, the one for the woman who is certain she can't afford to change a single thing. You don't need a new dryer. You don't need a new brush. You don't need to spend $1. You just flip the direction. Here's how. After you wash, get your hair about 70% dry first, roughly just knocking out the heaviest wetness. Then flip your head all the way upside down and dry the roots from underneath, aiming the air up toward the ceiling, running your fingers through to lift the roots away from your scalp. Do that for 2 or 3 minutes. What you're doing is drying the hair while it's lifted so it locks in standing up instead of lying down. When you flip back up, the roots stay elevated because you set them that way. Gravity was working against you before. Now it's holding your volume in place because the lift is baked in at the base, and there's a second free move that doubles it. On your dryer, there's a button you've probably ignored your whole life: the cool shot, the cold air. Heat makes hair soft and moldable. Cold air is what sets the shape and makes it hold. So after you've lifted a section at the root with hot air, hit it with a blast of cold to lock it. Hairdressers do this constantly and never explain it, because to them it's obvious. Nobody ever told us. That cold button is the difference between volume that lasts an hour and volume that lasts all day, and it's been sitting on your dryer free the entire time. I want to sit here a moment longer for the woman who's thinking this all sounds lovely, but her hair is too far gone, too fine, too flat, and she can't spend money chasing miracles. I was that woman. I hear you. So let me give you one more thing that costs absolutely nothing and works on the hair you have tonight. Change your part. That's it. Most of us have worn our hair parted in the same place for 30, 40 years. When you part in the same line every day for decades, the hair learns to fall that way. It trains flat right along that seam, and the roots there give up standing at all. So tonight, take the tail of a comb, or just your fingers, and move your part. If you've always parted on the left, go to the right, or straight down the center, or better yet, part it on the opposite side from where the hair wants to go. Here's why it works like magic. When you flip your part to the wrong side, you're forcing the hair to lift up and over against its trained direction. That fight against the grain creates instant height at the crown, the exact spot where fine hair goes flattest. You get lift with no product, no heat, no cost, in about 10 seconds. I did this the first morning I read about it, standing in my bathroom, and I actually laughed out loud because I looked like I'd had my hair done and I'd done nothing but drag a comb 2 inches to the right. But here's the deeper thing I want you to understand, and this is where I stopped feeling foolish and started feeling furious. None of these tricks are secret because they're complicated. They're secret because keeping them from you was profitable. A woman who knows she can create volume with her own 2 hands, a cold button, and a different part doesn't need to buy the mousse, the thickening spray, the fiber powder, the salon appointment, or the miracle serum. Your ignorance was never an accident. It was the business model. And once you see that clearly, you start questioning every other rule you were handed, and that questioning is exactly what led me to put everything I've uncovered into one place. I've written 3 books, Style Reset, Styled Deeper, and Styled Complete, that go far beyond hair, into every corner of your appearance that someone quietly handed you a rule about and walked away. If you're the kind of woman who wants the full picture, not just the pieces, you'll find all 3 linked in the description below. Everything in them follows the same principle as what you're learning right now. The truth was always available, it just wasn't profitable to give it to you for free. But let's come back to the surface of all this, because color is where the biggest myth of all is hiding, and it's costing women the most. The rule you've heard is that as you go gray, you should cover it with a single, solid, all-over color, usually something dark, to look polished and youthful. One color, edge to edge, roots touched up every few weeks. That's the standard. That's what most salons will hand you by default. And on fine hair, it's a disaster. Let me explain what a single flat color actually does. When every single strand is the exact same shade, especially a dark one, your hair reads to the eye as one solid, uniform block. There are no highlights, no shadows, no variation. And remember what I told you creates the illusion of thickness. It's variation. It's light and dark playing across the surface so your eye reads depth. A flat, single process color removes all of that. It turns your hair into a matte sheet, and worse, a dark flat sheet makes every gap where your scalp shows through look darker and more obvious by contrast. You're not hiding the thinness, you're outlining it. And there's a cruelty in the dark part specifically. As we age, our skin loses some of its warmth and depth. A harsh, solid, dark color next to aging skin doesn't flatter it, it drains it, and it creates a hard line at the hairline that ages you further. I dyed my hair a solid dark brown for years because I thought gray meant old and dark meant young. I looked like I was wearing a wig that didn't fit my face. Here's the truth that the color chemists understand and the discount box dye aisle will never tell you. Fine hair looks dramatically fuller with dimension, with 2 or 3 shades woven through it rather than one. A few lighter pieces around the face and through the crown catch the light and create the illusion of layers of hair stacked on each other. That's how you fake density with color, not with more pigment, with contrast. Soft, buttery lightness broken up by your natural depth reads as thickness because it mimics exactly how young, full hair reflects light unevenly with 100 tiny highlights. And here's the freeing part for those of us going gray. Your gray is not the enemy. Silver and white strands mixed through your color are natural highlights that you were born with and paid to cover up. Blended properly, that gray does the exact job that expensive foil highlights do. It breaks up the block, it catches light, it creates dimension. Women have been paying to erase the very thing that would have made their hair look fuller. Read that twice, because it took me a long time to believe it. So if you take nothing else from this section, take this. Move away from solid, flat, dark, all-over color. Ask for dimension, or let your natural silver come through as its own highlight. Softer, lighter, and varied will always read as fuller than dark and uniform on fine hair. Always. Now, I promised you a finale, and this is the one I've been holding back, because it's the piece that pulled everything together for me. It's a technique that predates the blow dryer, that professional stylists knew cold, and that got shoved into a drawer the moment fast heat styling took over salons in the 1960s and 70s. It costs almost nothing. You can do it this weekend, and I have never once heard a modern stylist mention it to a woman over 60. It made me feel like I'd been handed a secret that someone deliberately locked away. It's the cold set. The overnight roller set done the old way, on dry or barely damp hair, with the heat left completely out of it. Let me walk you through why this is the crown jewel and not just an old-fashioned throwback. Everything we've talked about, the upside-down drying, the cool shot, the part flip, they all work on the same principle. Hair holds the shape it's in when it cools and dries. Heat makes hair pliable. Cooling locks it. The blow dryer tries to do both jobs in 5 rushed minutes, with a stylist's arm getting tired, and on fine hair it usually loses the lift before the shape can set. But the old roller set does it perfectly, because it gives the hair hours to set into a lifted shape with no fighting gravity and no heat damage at all. Here is exactly how to do it, and I want you to try it this weekend so you see what I saw. Take your hair when it's just slightly damp, not soaking, or lightly mist it with plain water from a spray bottle. Use large rollers, the soft foam kind or Velcro rollers, which you can buy for around $6 or $7, or honestly, use what your grandmother used. Roll sections of hair up and away from your scalp, especially at the crown and the top, rolling toward the ceiling so the root is lifted up off the head. Pin them or let the Velcro hold, then leave them. Sleep on them if the rollers are soft, or leave them in for an hour or two while you have your coffee and read. Because there's no heat, there's no damage, which matters enormously for fine, aging hair that breaks easily. And because the hair sets slowly and completely as it dries, cooled into that lifted position, the volume that comes out is extraordinary, and it lasts not for an hour, for the whole day. When you take the rollers out, you don't brush hard. You just tip your head down, run your fingers through, and shake it loose. What you get is soft, rounded, lifted volume from the root. Exactly the fullness, the tight 60s perm destroyed, and the flat blow-dry never delivered. This is the method women used before everyone was in a hurry. It's how they got that soft, full, bouncy look you see in old photographs, the look we assumed required a salon and a fortune. It required neither. It required rollers and patience and the knowledge that cold sets and heat destroys. That knowledge existed, it was common, and it got buried under a generation of hot tools sold to us as progress, because a roller you buy once for $7 doesn't make anyone rich, but a dryer, a straightener, a curling wand, and a cabinet full of heat protectant sprays certainly do. The truth was always there. A false rule buried it. Our grandmothers preserved it without even knowing it was precious. And now it's yours again. So let me leave you with what really happened here. Because it isn't really about rollers, or parts, or conditioner. Someone convinced you that the fullness, the softness, the presence you used to have was gone for good, a casualty of your age. It was never gone. It was buried under bad advice that served everyone but you, and you just dug it back out. You are not a woman whose best hair is behind her. You're a woman who was lied to, who went looking for the truth, and who's about to walk into a room this week looking more like herself than she has in years. That's not vanity. That's reclaiming something that was quietly taken from you. Now, I want to hear from you, and I mean this. Tell me which rule you were made to obey the longest. Was it the one that said you had to cut your hair short after 60? Was it the solid dark dye? Or was it, like me, the flat downward blow dry every single morning? Leave it in the comments, because I read them. And there is a whole community of women down there who need to hear they weren't the only ones fooled. Tell me where you're watching from, too. I love knowing where in the world these truths are landing. And if you're done being told your elegance is behind you, stay with me here. This isn't a channel, it's a room full of women who decided to stop disappearing and start taking back what was theirs, one buried truth at a time. Because the next thing I've been digging into is the one fabric almost every woman over 60 has been told to avoid, the one that supposedly shows your age. And what I found about where that rule came from is going to make you want to open your closet and pull it right back out. I'll see you there. Let me go back for a moment, because I glossed over something and I don't want you to miss it, since it's one of the most common mistakes I see, and I made it for years myself. It's about how you handle your hair between washes, on those days when it's already flat and you're just trying to revive it. The instinct, when hair goes limp midday, is to wet it down and start over, or to brush it hard to wake it up. Both make it worse. Brushing fine hair vigorously drags every strand back down flat against the scalp and strips out whatever grip and texture the day had built up. You're erasing the very roughness that gives fine hair its body. And wetting it fully just returns you to that slippery, flat, freshly washed state with no hold at all. What actually revives flat, fine hair costs nothing and takes 30 seconds. Flip your head over, and using just your fingertips, gently massage and ruffle the roots at the crown, lifting them away from the scalp, adding a tiny bit of tousle. If you happen to have a dry shampoo, and this is the one product I'll tell you is worth owning, a small amount at the roots adds grip and lifts the hair by absorbing the oil that's weighing it down. A can runs about $7 or $8 and lasts months, but even without it, the finger ruffle at the crown done upside down brings back lift in under a minute. Brushing kills volume, ruffling restores it. Remember that on your flat afternoons. And while I'm giving you the things nobody told us, let me correct one more myth that's cost women both money and their hair's health. The idea that you need a whole regimen of thickening shampoos, root-lifting sprays, texturizing powders, and fiber fillers to fake fullness, you don't. Most of those products, especially the powders and fibers, build up on fine hair and leave it feeling gritty and looking dull within a day, and they cost a small fortune over a year. Add it up, $20 here, $18 there, 3 or 4 times a year. That's easily $150 annually to make your hair worse. Everything that actually works, I've now handed you, and look at what it cost. Moving your part, free. Drying upside down, free. The cold shot on the dryer you already own, free. Keeping conditioner off your roots, free. And it even saves you product. Washing less often, that saves money too. The roller set, a one-time $7. The whole system that gives you real lasting volume comes to less than the price of a single fancy volumizing serum that would have flattened you by lunch. I think about the woman I was in that salon in 2017, nodding along while a stranger told me my hair was simply thinning and short was my only option. I wish I could go back and tell her that she wasn't looking at the end of anything. She was looking at a lifetime of bad advice she'd never questioned, and every single piece of it could be undone. Not with money. With knowledge that used to be common and got taken away. Here's something else that took me an absurdly long time to figure out, and it ties directly to why the flat blow-dry fails. It's about which direction your hair grows, your natural growth pattern, and how fighting it or following it changes everything. Most women have a crown, a spot at the back or top where the hair spirals out from a center point, and the hair around your face has a direction it naturally wants to sweep. When you blow dry straight down or set your part in the train line, you're collapsing all of that natural movement into one flat plane. But when you dry your hair, lifting it in the opposite direction from where it wants to lie, even just at the roots, and then let it fall back into its natural direction, you get built-in volume because the root is standing up while the length falls naturally. The root fights gravity, the length obeys it, and the tension between them is exactly what fullness looks like. This is why the professionals always seem to get volume you can't replicate at home. They're not stronger or more skilled with the dryer. They understand that you lift at the base and let the ends do what they want. We were all trying to control the whole strand, top to bottom, forcing it smooth and flat, when the secret was to only ever lift the root and leave the rest alone. And let me say something plainly about the fear underneath all of this, because I felt it and I suspect you do too. The fear that fussing with your hair at our age is somehow silly or vain or trying too hard. That we should just accept the flat, thinning, sensible look because that's what's appropriate. I want to name that feeling and then I want to throw it out because it's the same lie in a different costume. The idea that caring how you look becomes inappropriate after 60 is not wisdom. It's another way of telling you to disappear quietly, and it benefits everyone except you, because a woman who's been convinced her appearance no longer matters stops asking questions, stops expecting better, and accepts whatever she's handed. You are allowed to want to look full and lifted and like yourself. That desire didn't expire on a birthday. Volume isn't vanity. It's the frame around your face, and your face has earned a good frame. Every line on it was earned. It deserves hair that lifts toward it, not hair trained to fall away and hide. So this weekend, I want you to do 3 things, and none of them require you to leave the house or buy anything you don't already have. First, wash your hair, keep the conditioner below your ears, get it 70% dry, then flip upside down and dry your roots, lifting up, and finish with the cold shot. Second, move your part to the opposite side and see what 10 seconds does. And third, if you have any rollers in a drawer, or you can grab some for a few dollars, do the cold set the old way and see the volume that our grandmothers took for granted come roaring back. Then look in the mirror, really look, the way you looked in that lit salon mirror the day someone told you your best hair was behind you, and notice that they were wrong. Notice how much of what you lost was never lost at all. It was just buried, and now you're the one holding the shovel, because the women who thrive after 60 aren't the ones who found some expensive miracle. They're the ones who stopped believing the rules that were built to keep them small. That's who you are now, if you want to be. A woman who refuses to be told her best years and her best hair are behind her. So tell me down in the comments which rule held you the longest and where in the world you're watching from, and stay close, because the next buried truth I'm bringing you about the one fabric they told you to hide in your closet might be the one that surprises you most of all. Before you go, if this video helped, there's a deeper version waiting for our members. You can ask me your own question, and a real person answers, and you'll be among thousands of folks just like you. Point your phone's camera at the code on screen. It takes less than a minute, and you can cancel anytime, no risk. If these tips helped your fine hair feel fuller, do stay with me. Subscribe and look around the channel because I have plenty more gentle, easy ideas to help you look and feel your best.